How's it going, everybody? First of all, let me thank Ubisoft for giving me early access to the new hero again and letting me test and play him. It is much appreciated. So, I don't know how many videos you've watched before mine here, or maybe this one here is your first, but I sadly have to put a damper on things. The character doesn't quite live up to the hype that the Warrior Stance stream created, and I don't know how many of my fellow content creators will lie into your faces by telling you Kyoshin is the next common of the anti-gank god, because he is not. Not even close. Quite frankly, he does have a lot of issues, but at the same time I need to give you the usual disclaimer when it comes to these early access versions of characters. Whatever we got to play in the early access doesn't necessarily mean that it will be exactly like that in the live version of the game that everyone gets to play. There have been hotfixes in the past that addressed things, and I don't want anyone to already freak out because of what I just said a minute ago. This character has a solid base kit, and as everyone will agree with me here, it looks absolutely great. It looks like a ton of fun, and simple fixes can actually make that a reality. So, now that I killed all the hype, I'll go over the usual frame checks, and then I'll try and give context and explain why certain things are problematic. The basic light chain is 500 milliseconds on all sides. His neutral lights also have superior block on them. It starts at 100 milliseconds into the attack and lasts for 200. That falls in line with others. The heavies are different. For neutral top heavy we're looking at 700 ms, whereas the side ones clock in at 800. They do the exact same damage though. Combo heavies are all 800 ms. All finishes have the undodgeable property that goes for lights as well as these heavies. The zone attack is 500 ms. Look at the animation. The damage occurs later than you'd think. This might hint at Ubisoft initially wanting this move to be 466 ms, but that's just me speculating. Maybe there's nothing to it in the end. The side dodge heavies are 533 ms and on a static input window. The forward dodge heavy is 600 ms and unfaintable. It also doesn't have the undodgeable property. I will talk more about this later in the video. The running heavy clocks in at 600 ms as well. Alright, then let's talk bashes. Kyoshin has two. First, the kick. It's a 500 ms bash that can be used 300 ms into the dodge at the earliest. You can also delay it up to 500 ms into it. That's nothing new, we've got plenty of those. It also has this weird little interaction that you can dodge into it or use other moves which have the ability to push people around. It'll probably be fixed really soon. For now, just enjoy being a little bouncy ball. But here is the actual problem. You cannot chain on whiff, and the recoveries are looking like this. 900 ms through the board. Counter guard break, guard switch, and dodge. Which ultimately means on a successful dodge, you get a guard break. You are trading a possible 12 against whatever the opponent's guard break punch is, or straight up ledge. This makes it one of the worst forward dodge bashes in the game. It is extremely vulnerable. The only saving grace here is that the confirmed light is an opener light, which, as shown previously, they have superior block frames. This attack is also target swappable. Now for the combo bash, which, fair enough, can be chained from every opener. That's lights, heavies, zone, running attack, dodge attack, no matter the side, and I think that's it. The recoveries on this one are 800 through the board, which means you can sometimes get a GB on it. This depends on the hit or block stun from the first attack. After a light, for example, you can always get a guard break. Medium hit or block stun do not give a guard break. Next problem with it. It has extremely short range, so if you try to target swap it, you are highly likely to just poke the air. But what you cannot target swap is the confirmed light after the chain bash. That one somehow sticky targets your bash target. which makes it more vulnerable to interrupts. So how do we fix these? Because in this state, they really feel kinda bad when you use them and then get punished hard for it. The dodge bash needs to be chainable on whiff, in my opinion. That puts it in line with the rest. Junhu, Goki, Scent, and so on. Now, possible problem here might be if Kaze Stance and attack recovery are somehow linked, because then the hero would be able to deal with every dodge attack similar to Aramusha. Maybe this is not a problem, as it kinda works on Aramusha. With that I mean, his ability to blade blockade recovery cancel doesn't make him over the top broken, it's just a good tool. Granted, it's not after a bash, like in Kyoshin's case. Lowering the recoveries would also work. And the same goes for the combo bash. Lowering the recoveries a bit would bring it in line with Black Prior's bash. BP's recoveries are 600 for all three values. That's 200 less. That is a significant difference. I don't know why these numbers are so high. Maybe they're testing something, trying to see what the community's reception here is. Because we all know, bashes are evil after all. There is one more thing about the forward dodge bash. It's in conjunction with the forward dodge heavy. As mentioned, it is not feintable. It is also on the same dodge timing as the kick, as it is not undodgeable, which makes the kick even worse. It doesn't put any extra pressure on the opponent, making it an easier reaction to just orange. The animation is also quite big, if that makes sense. The kick is very distinct. It's an old animation from the campaign, so there's no junk yet. Stefan said on stream that they consider it an opener, which in theory it would be, but I felt scared using it out of neutral, as a lot of people dodged and punished me for it. But let's move on. There are more number problems with this hero, most notably the Chainlinks, the time between attacks. We are looking at 366 ms here. These are among the longest on any hero. To give perspective, we consider 100 ms Chainlink really fast. 200 ms, that's normal, and 300 ms are quite long. 366 feel almost insufferable. You will notice this from the first moment you play him, and you will notice it even more now that I've pointed it out. The dodge attacks give you a slight better one at 266, which is still not great, but a little bit more bearable. So what does that mean though? Lots of numbers, so here's the context. People can, for example, light interrupt your light to heavy chain, which is quite frankly just bizarre. But I'll show you a similar scenario when we talk about the Kaze Stance. I guess we could just move on to it. So, the fancy full block where Kyoshin twirls his weapon. This move has superior block property, meaning all normal attacks without the zone property will bounce off. He has 3 moves he can use out of this stance, regardless of whether an attack was blocked or not. Without blocking, these are the properties of the moves. A light input throws a right side 500 ms light attack for 12 damage. A zone input throws a left side 600 ms zone attack for 10. It counts as a heavy. And a heavy input throws an 800 ms top unblockable for 15 damage. All 3 moves chain into Fujin Cuts or Fujin Falls. Fujin Cuts are the 3 fast confirmed light attacks. They do 1, 1 and 8 damage. Between the first and the second, as well as the second and the third attack, you can also throw a Fujin Force attack. Each one of these extra lights costs 6 stamina. You're using 18 stamina to do 10 damage. As previously mentioned, you can chain directly into it as well, but not after the finisher light. That one puts you back in neutral. No more chains after, which makes you extremely vulnerable in team fights. If you want the extra 8 damage from the last hit, you give yourself up on a silver platter, because you cannot chain into your heavy if you finished all 3 lights. What little security that move gives, even that is denied to you. So, Fujin Force then, I just mentioned it. The Omega level anti-gank move. Whoever tells you that is straight up lying to your face. We are looking at a 600 ms unfaintable heavy attack. The outstanding property is that it has a full block during the move for 300 ms. In that window, an enemy needs to throw a blockable attack into you. Not a bash, not an unblockable. A blockable attack during that small window. Is it dawning on everyone already how incredibly unlikely it is to actually hit this timing? You're locked into these Fujin cuts. The Chainlinks aren't that big. You cannot really delay and time it better. The delay window for the Fujin cuts is only an extra 100 ms. And then you need to identify which external attack your opponent is throwing. Is it a light? Is it a slow heavy? Will he feint and have the guy I'm currently targeting just parry the 600 ms unfeintable heavy? You will see this move in montages, no doubt, but the credit goes to the person actually throwing an attack into the Kyoshin, because the Kyoshin, that guy is just praying that it will work. Add to that despite it going unblockable when getting the timing right, the attack is still parryable. It's not like a Conqueror post that is also unparryable. Also, you are done with your chain afterwards. Your only option is to go back into the stance, which quite frankly is quite a cool recovery cancel. It can surprise people. But let's look at the Kaze Stance itself again. If it blocks something, those 3 attacks that I've mentioned do become unblockable. The window to input those unblockable attacks is up until 400 ms after the successful block. If you wait any longer, you will throw out the blockable version again. These unblockables do change properties slightly. The speeds are now 466 ms for every attack. That includes the heavy as well. It's significantly faster. The damage values, on the other hand, go down. The light goes from 12 to 8, the zone from 10 to 8, and the top heavy from 15 to 10. Don't ask me why that is, it just is. Another bug that will hopefully soon get fixed is that the Kaze Stance light currently has 0 MSGB vulnerability. This allows players with fast reactions to just light you on reaction to your guard break attempt. Alright, more numbers then. Entering Kaze Stance takes 300 ms from neutral. You're not blocking anything but heavies on reaction with this. The time to throw an attack from neutral is an extra 200 ms, meaning you don't need to have fully entered the stance to attack with those special moves. You can fast flow into it though, similar to what Black Prior does. After a successful block, you can instantly flow into Kaze Stance. This can be a good tool for people that struggle against combo lights. You can dodge light into light, and now for heavy into light, you simply fast flow to have that covered as well. Against Berserker, for example, you can use it similarly to how Aramusha utilizes his Blade Blockade. But you don't always want to throw an attack. You sometimes just want to leave the stance. Well, for that you're looking at 400 ms to counter guard break, 500 ms to switch your guard, and 400 ms again to dodge. These are quite significant numbers, as it means you are very vulnerable to bashes as well as unblockables. It is rather unlikely that you will dodge a bash or parry on unblockable flying your way without having made the read beforehand and baiting it out. But it isn't all that easy to bait something out, as you don't know how long you have to sit in the stance for your opponent to bite. But this also goes for team fights. It's not as safe as many of the others really. BP has similar numbers, but he can flip everything. Kong can dodge, and so can Warlord. And just like Warlord, you're also stuck in place while holding the full block. Alright, I know I've been going on for a while, but as you noticed, it's not as straightforward as expected. So, frame advantage with Kaze Stance. You can negate the frame disadvantage of finisher lights by going back into Kaze Stance lights. I know that people dislike when something is breaking that rule. If you can't react to it, then you can do the following. After a chain light landed on you, you block left, because that is the only direction the quick attack can come from. It is similar to how Orochi can recovery cancel into his forward dodge light, it's only from a single direction. The Fujin cuts themselves are minus. The only way to not be is to throw Fujin force. Like explained before, 600 ms unfaintable heavy. That one does quickly chain back into Kaze Stance and will keep you plus as long as you're doing it. You will keep throwing unfaintable right side attacks. Once again, if someone is spamming you with this, block left. And another thing I will only mention very briefly, if you full block stance heavies, you can get a guard break. And some attacks mostly feintable zones or ones with lower recovery can parry your follow-up moves. I know Marco is testing this again, so if I have the video link to his tests, it should pop up right now. He's been doing some great work testing. I'm sure he has more details than me here. Alright, we'll leave it at that. Hitboxes are next. Terrible, terrible hitboxes. Let's see all the Kaze Stance moves. I mean, just look at it. I don't even want to explain every single one because as you can see, they're just not hitting anything. It's almost as if Ubisoft specifically coded them to just hit a single person, which they obviously didn't because they can hit externally, but at extremely weird angles. Opponents have to be extremely close and at specific locations around you to hit them. As a general rule, if the weapon model during an unfeintable attack goes through the character model of another player, well, I think it should hit. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned that way. Once again, if the quote-unquote role of this hero is supposed to be anti-ganking and team fighting, then this is unacceptable. These hitboxes don't need to just be slightly improved. They need a significant buff. I thought I'd never see sad hitboxes like this again after we've pointed them out on Hitokiri way back in the day. Hitokiri lights are probably the closest to this tragedy here. And it doesn't really get better when they turn unblockable after a superior block either. Then for his normal attacks, these are okay, I'd say. When I heard he has superior block lights, I thought of the backstepping nonsense that block priors do, but the hitboxes to the side aren't nearly as good. Heavies do hit to the side your attack is coming from. The hitbox doesn't extend to the other side. Then for the finishers, once again not as good as you'd hope for. They're decent, but not on John Who's level, despite what the animation might tell you. Moving on, Ganks. It should come as no surprise that the Fujin cuts will be used to confirm other attacks. I'm not gonna explain all combinations here, but I want to explain the infinite that is possible with two Kyoshins. Don't worry, I won't mention single pick. Or will I? We'll see. By hitting the exit recovery off hit stun at the correct time, you can keep an opponent pinned indefinitely. That is, if done correctly. If not done correctly, the right side Fujin cut will be blockable because of the third hit stun rule. This requires to either external the person or block to the left in anticipation of it. Once you block an attack, you can parry the next incoming unblockable. If you want to counter this, you need to be aware of where your guard is and who you are locked onto. This one is here to stay, and eventually many more people will learn this. It's not that easy to consistently hit the small window of the exit recovery, but it is extremely easy to just spam the move and hope the target doesn't know what attack is blockable. So feel free to rewatch this here as often as needed. And I think I'm going to end the video here now. It's gotten way longer than I had planned. YouTube Analytics tells me that you kids usually get bored at around 7 minutes, so I probably shouldn't call you one if you've watched until the end now. A thank you is in order, I guess. To sum it up, this character needs some major buffs. We're looking at a John Who release scenario here. The kit is there, the numbers are just awful. These should be some relatively easy fixes, at least from my point of view, which is obviously severely lacking in knowledge how anything is done. Nevertheless, I hope we'll see these buffs soon. And don't be discouraged too much by this video, he still is fun, but in his current state, he just cannot compete. Still, hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Laters, everybody. No, 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 no. Oh my god. Don't let it end like this. No! Oh.